Let's be real for a second. Nobody likes being criticized, right? Whether it's in a big performance review or just some offhand comment, that critical feedback can feel like a punch to the gut. But what if we could totally rewire that reaction? What if we could take that initial sting and actually turn it into fuel for our own growth? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into.
I mean, come on, who hasn't felt this? This quote from the expert editor just nails that feeling we've all had. You know the one. You're in a meeting, someone starts giving you feedback, and bam, the walls go straight up. It's this powerful, automatic response. But to figure out how to control it, we have to ask a really important question first. Where does it even come from? And this is such a key question. Is it some kind of character flaw, a sign that we're weak? Absolutely not. The answer isn't about your personality. It's actually deep inside the wiring of your brain. And, understanding that wiring, that's the very first step to taking back control. So get this, our reaction to criticism isn't some new age workplace problem. It's an ancient survival mechanism. We are literally hardwired to react to things we perceive as threats. And our brain, well, it has a really tough time telling the difference between a harsh email and, say, a saber-toothed tiger. Okay, this is the main event right here. The term was coined by Daniel Goleman, and it's called the amygdala hijack. This is what happens when that tiny almond-shaped part of your brain, the amygdala, senses danger. It just blasts an alarm that completely overpowers your logical thinking, all in a fraction of a second, before you even realize what's happening. Think of it like this. There are two systems in your head, and they're competing for control. You've got the limbic system, that's our emotional brain. It's older, it's way faster, and it's super efficient because it evolved to keep us alive. Then you have the neocortex, our thinking brain. It's newer and, honestly, a bit slower. So in what feels like a crisis, the limbic system easily wins the race. And suddenly, our emotions are in the driver's seat. And this shows you exactly how it all goes down. So a signal, in this case, the critical feedback, hits your thalamus, but instead of routing it over to the thinking part of your brain for some careful thought, the thalamus basically yells threat and sends it on an express lane straight to the amygdala. Before you can even form a logical thought, your body is already flooded with fight or flight hormones. It's wild. So if this is all just a biological instinct, are we doomed to be defensive forever? No way, absolutely not. Once you understand the hijack, you can totally learn to manage it. So let's get into the practical toolkit for taking back control. I know, it sounds almost too simple, but this is your most effective weapon against an amygdala hijack. That little split second where you choose not to react, where you just stop. That is where you get your power back. The pause is what creates the space for your rational brain to catch up and get back online. So what do you actually do in that pause? First, you breathe. Just focus on that physical feeling. Then you name the emotion. There's a ton of research, like from David Rock in Your Brain at Work, that shows just naming an emotion, saying to yourself, I am feeling defensive, or wow, I am feeling angry, actually activates your thinking brain and starts to calm down the emotional one. Okay, once your rational brain is starting to kick in, you can use these powerful phrases to totally untangle the situation. And listen, these aren't you admitting you're wrong, they are tools for de-escalation. Simple things like, thank you for sharing that, or I see your point, can immediately lower the tension and show that you're actually listening, not fighting. This little mantra from Fred Kaufman is the entire mindset shift. A defensive brain sees a threat, right? But a curious brain sees a puzzle to solve. Curiosity is basically the antidote to anger. It completely changes the conversation from a confrontation into a collaboration. And this is how you put that curiosity into action. These questions prove that you actually value their opinion and you want to understand, not just argue. Asking for a concrete example, that turns a vague complaint into actionable data you can use. You're not the target of an attack anymore. You're a partner in solving a problem. Handling that initial moment is really half the battle, but how you end the conversation, that's what decides whether the feedback leads to real improvement. A professional close makes sure the discussion wasn't just talk, but the start of some real, tangible progress. Here's a super simple framework. First, listen. Repeat back what you heard just to make sure you got it right. Second, process. It is perfectly okay and, honestly, very mature to say you need time to think. It stops you from making rash promises. And third, act. Always commit to a follow-up. It shows you're accountable and you respect your time. This table just sums it all up so perfectly. On the left, you've got the common, knee-jerk, amygdala-driven reactions. And on the right, the calm, controlled, professional responses we've been talking about. The difference isn't just about looking mature. It's about turning a potentially negative moment into a really positive outcome for your career. Okay, so these tools and techniques are powerful, for sure. But what does it take to really, truly master the art of receiving criticism? Well, it takes a deeper, more fundamental shift in how you see feedback itself. According to the incredible research by Carol Dweck, this is the master switch. A fixed mindset believes our abilities are just set in stone, so any criticism feels like a final judgment on who we are. But a growth mindset, it believes we can learn and improve. From that perspective, feedback isn't a threat at all. It's essential information for our own development. And this right here is the ultimate takeaway. When you can genuinely see criticism not as an attack on who you are, but as a gift of information to help you become who you want to be, you completely change the game. You turn what feels like a blow into the very fuel for your own excellence. You know, in the end, what is defensiveness really? It's just our ego trying to protect itself. The real path to getting great at anything lies in our ability to set that ego aside, to listen with an open mind, and to constantly try to be better. So the next time feedback stings, what are you going to choose to protect? Your ego or your growth?